Bricktop Tony in Snatch.
Oh yeah, yeah, great.
Iconic. And this, I think in life, go for it, right? So me and a mate were talking about in a pub years ago, another comedian called Lloyd Langford, who's now based in Australia, and he's Welsh, and he said, we should just invite them up for dinner, we should email his agent. I said, people don't do that. He goes, my mate did it. Anyway, he emailed Ford's agent. We ended up taking out a Ford outfit, Bricktop Tony from Snatch, and it was the most incredible thing. And just because we got in touch and said we're massive fans, we'd like you to take you for dinner, we've ended up being friends with this amazing guy, who's one of the most amazing people I've ever met. And I just think, in life, tell people when they've done something good, and it doesn't have to be famous people.
Yeah.
And I just think life becomes so much more positive and enjoyable.
I do see things where you see let's see those arms. Yes, Bricktop, I imagine, is the same off as he is on. I don't imagine him, when you meet him, and saying, hello Matt, how are you? It's an absolute job, and it's so different. There was me and Giles Brandreth the other day.
Did you see me as Bricktop?
Yeah.
I gave my Bricktop.
Bricktop was a triumph, 5 stars. He's not like that, is he?
No, I mean, he obviously has all the mannerisms and the kind of verbal tics of Bricktop, but even when he's just talking, having a normal conversation with him, I say, what do you want? I'll have a large glass of sewing up
So, Matt, a couple of things. Going rather well for Forest. Incredible turnaround under the new gaffer. You can dare to dream now, can't you?
I just, it's amazing because so often you go, is it the play? As a fan, I'm fairly dopey and you think, is it the management? Is it the players? What else is going on with the club? You never really know what's happening. This is the same group of players that Prasuna had. We were the worst team in England before Prasuna. We were bottom of 1 point. Now we're 7th. Point of the is absolutely incredible. The effect that one man has had. I really can't remember. Certainly since a club, and even that wasn't like an immediate bang. I don't think there's a manager in Forest history who's had an immediate catalyst effect on this. But obviously, it means nothing if it doesn't continue. But what an amazing case study of the difference that his transfer window. It's just absolutely incredible. And I think he's instilled in the players this belief that you can live up to nowhere near United achieving Ferguson in terms of scoring their goals. But there is that mentality there now that it feels like they're playing with a handbrake off. And players that fans might have not rated just a few months ago and now megastars at the City Ground. I mean, it's the most exciting time we've had really for a very long time.
And you are touring as well, aren't you? I see you've announced tour dates for next year.
Yes, I mean, I should make it clear, I didn't add my tour dates to the end of that thread about Graham Taylor. Terribly cynical.
It's the thing to do.
But yes, the tour starts in February in London and goes all around the country. It's called Fans to the Left of Me, Jokers to the Right. And yeah, I mean, it's coming soon to a comedy club or regional arts centre near you.
Yeah, go and check it out. Go and check out the picture of Graham with Matt and his sister and those Forest players and the coach in the background. It's on Matt's Twitter feed at Matt Ford with an E. Have a lovely Christmas, Matt. Lovely to talk to you.
Merry Christmas,
Happy
fellas.
Christmas,
Pleasure. Love you, fellas.
Take care. There we are, Matt Ford. Yeah, go and check out his lovely picture from him there. And Graham Taylor. Have you got any other pictures with random football people? Stories attached?
Well, Norman Meadows, I've got a picture of me and Norman Meadows, the old England physio on Hay Talk, because he was so Torquay's physio.
Wow.
See, so met him once on Hay Talk, got the picture next to a Dartmoor pony. I've no idea where that is, but,
When I was about 11, it was a bit of a cringer. There was a testimonial at Tottenham. It might have been something like Phil Bill or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But somewhere around that time, I might have been a bit younger. I might have been about 9. And I was just waiting out. So I was waiting for a friend and dad and stuff to come along and going into the game. Terry Venables walked past on his way clearly to the corner pin. And I went, hello, Terry. And he said, all right, son. And I said, you're going for a swift half. I don't know where it came from. Not that night. And he looked at me and said, yeah, I think I am, son. Yeah, I think. And I think back now, what a cringer. But I should have.
It's a good thing to say. You're talking to him when he's 11.
I should have got a picture. Anyway, if you've got tales similar to Matt's, they're
got to roll with it. It's nearly there, isn't it? Yeah.
It's nearly there. Keep those coming. We're talking darts and dartitis next.
Hawksby and Jacobs on Talksport with Green King Pubs. Over 900 pubs nationwide showing all the best live sport. Green King, your home of pub sport.
It could be a nan who's just made the best gravy ever. It could be a sister who's had a sneaky peek at all the crackers. It could be a best mate who's had cream, ice cream and brandy butter. Or this Christmas, it could be you. The Christmas Day Lotto jackpot is £15 million and it must be won. Or thousands of you could win a share of the jackpot. Play on app, online and in store. Lotto and National Lottery. Your numbers make amazing happen. Account terms, rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
Omicron COVID-19 cases are rising fast, and around 1 in 3 people who have the virus have no symptoms and could be spreading it without knowing. So this Christmas and New Year, if you're out and about in busy, enclosed public spaces, wear a face covering over your nose and mouth to help protect others. And remember, if you have any COVID-19 symptoms, take a PCR test and stay at home if it's positive. Make sure you're vaccinated. Get your booster now. Stop COVID-19 hanging around.
If you'd like to stay relaxed and well-informed, follow this simple guide. Step 1. Stroll to your front door. Step 2. Pick up your copy of the Times. Step 3. Put your feet up and read till your heart's content. Enjoy 6 weeks free home delivery of the Times and the Sunday Times while supporting your local shop. Order today at thetimes.co.uk/delivery. Customers only. T's and C's apply.
Why is it called Boxing Day? Not having Premier League games on. It should be called Football Day.
Well, leftover food was overstayed. Well, we definitely ate more than 9 of them last year. It's a feast for football fans on December the 26th, and Paddy Power's got a knockout offer just for Boxing Day. It's a completely free £5 bet builder to use on any of the 9 Premier League matches on Boxing Day. Paddy Power. Image online bet the better and 2 plus next from prepaid bet the customer. Must have previously deposited to amount. It's
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Mid-mornings on Talksport.
I'm hot in the car with this.
Your one-stop destination for stacked high sport and big band bravado from radio's double trouble dynamic duo.
You confused.com. I'm confused as to what's in opposite you at times, yes.
Built on a bedrock of badass reaction, spiky comment and dazzling guests.
We're joined live by Arsene Wenger.
Good afternoon.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Tomorrow morning from 10 on Talksport with Selco. It's where the trade go.
Traffic and travel on Talksport with Swinton Insurance. Tradesmen need cover too. Our public liability insurance doesn't just protect the public. Get a quote today. Visit swinton.co.uk.
On the M25 in Surrey, it's taking over an hour in 20 miles of clockwise queues from junction 9 at Leatherhead to 15 for the M4. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, the outside lanes blocked southbound by an accident between junction 17 and 16 towards Northampton, causing 3 miles of queues. On the M6 in Cheshire, 4 lanes closed southbound along the entry slip road at junction 21 to the east of Warrington. Emergency bridge repairs still an hour in queues towards there from junction 23 at Haydock. That's the latest. I'm Russell Holden.
Merry Christmas, humanoids.
Even when we're partying with aliens, we'll always be little on price, like prawn lollipops for $1.79 and assorted fish rolls for $1.49. Little big on the Christmas you can always believe in. Subject to availability, selected stores exclude tonight.
This Boxing Day.
Villa versus Chelsea. Coverage from 5. Kick-off 5:30 p.m.
We're off to Ali Pali now, where the World Darts Championship is unfolding. And on my way home yesterday, I saw 5 grown men having a pint dressed as nuns, clearly waiting to get on the train to head down to. I don't know who they were. Be a bit random. Be a bit random.
There might have been in the sound of music.
Yeah, it was darts all day, I think. Now, we're looking ahead to a big game tonight, and indeed look back on a game that, with respect to the players involved, wouldn't have got probably a great deal of coverage were it not for the fact that one of the players has admitted to having the yips, dartitis, remembering the late great Eric Briscoe suffering with this. Let's head to Ali Pali then. Dan Dawson is there for TalkSport. Hi, Dan.
Yeah, good afternoon, lads.
Yeah, this is Glenn Durant and his game against William O'Connor. It's been a terrible year for Glenn. It's 28th defeat out of 29 competitive matches this calendar year, and he's
who've suffered from dartitis or whatever you want to call it. Very high-profile ones. Eric Bristow, the obvious one, but a former world champion in Mark Webster as well. And dartitis, tradition, it's this sort of, it's almost like a fear of failure. You can't let go of the dart. Now, Glenn is slightly different. He is very much akin to a golfer losing his swing, losing his technique, or maybe even a batsman in cricket, where they're just not able to get back to what they used to do, no matter how much work they've done. And then the confidence goes, and anything goes wrong in a game, and you can just see them crumble. It certainly happened to Glenn against Willie O'Connor. Very first leg, Willie O'Connor took out 170 checkout, and he just saw Glenn's face. It was, well, what can I do? It's been really, really difficult. It comes after 6 years of completely unabated success. Won 3 Lakeside World Championships, won the Premier League, and he said that was the moment when it all started to go wrong. He said he climbed his mountain and effectively sort of Homer Simpsoned his way down the other side, banging his head on every single
I mean, you're right, Willie O'Connor was very sympathetic, and I think it's kind of there, but for the grace of God and all that, all players worry that this could easily happen to me. There's no reason why it couldn't, and there is a lot of sympathy for him. I don't know, I suppose it's one for the sports psychologist. It's not a technical thing, is it? It's a mental thing.
Well, look, I don't know. We've spoken to so many players. Some have got over it. We've got the likes of Mervyn King, who's playing well into his 50s, and he had dartitis as quite a young man. He found a way through it. Mensur Suljovic, who's playing tonight, the Austrian #1, he's found a way through it, and he did it by learning to grip the dart in a different way, because it's such a fine motor skill that you're relying on tiny little adjustments when you're throwing at different parts of the board, and you just overthink it. Now, yeah, I'm sure a sports psychologist will help me. Glenn has worked with a sports psychologist in the past, but I think with Glenn, there's all sorts of stuff that he needs to address. It's been a very, very hard time for him. It's been sad to watch. I mean, I was there with the Premier League, and he lost every single game, and it was 7-0, 7-1. It is very, very strange seeing a genuine champion, a born winner, laid so low.
Coming on the back of a lot of success, I do wonder if there's something in suddenly becoming aware of yourself, that imposter syndrome of, if you find something quite natural, and suddenly you start to break it down into what you're doing, and you start to think too much, and that might affect your throw. I've no idea. I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I've read stuff that Matthew Saeed, the old table tennis player, who'd written about it, and he talked about sort of choking on the big stage, and that's when all that stuff that you've spent years and years learning to do, you do it automatically. But as soon as you start thinking about all the tiny little things that you do, that's when it no longer becomes automatic, and you're having to think and manually do it and adjust on the fly, and that's when things can completely break down. And I've speaking to a lot of golfers, I think that's the closest resemblance you can think of, where it's just an automatic motion you go through, and then when you start breaking it down, you just don't really understand how you've been doing it so automatically for all these years. Glenn is certainly in that position at the minute. I don't know. He doesn't know at the minute how he gets out of it.
We wish him well. A big game tonight, though. Barney versus Rob Cross.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if you'd said 18 months ago that you're going to be seeing these two duking out the William World Championship, you'd have probably been laughed at, because Rob Cross was in no kind of form and Raymond van Barneveld was in retirement. But he came back out at the start of the year as he's basically trying to live out a Rocky film in his entire career. He's always seen it like that. Came over to play in 2007, beat Phil Taylor in the World Final, in the greatest game the sport's ever seen. But going into retirement, and the last time we saw him at Ali Pali, he was in bits. He was depressed. He was not liking life. He was hating darts. Walked away from it, and he came back and won a title doing 3 events at the start of this year. He's playing all right. He's competitive, Raymond van Barneveld, 4-time world champion. You know his top ceiling of performance. It's whether he can produce it consistently. But Rob Cross, after 2 years in the doldrums, he's European champion once more. He's won a couple of titles in the last 3 months. He looks completely rejuvenated. He looks like an absolute cracker to finish things off before Christmas.
Brilliant. Good to talk to you, Dan. Thanks very much.
Fucking road up here is absolutely shameful. Disgrace. Fucking roads up here.
Darts on the radio here on Talksport.
It works, Paul. It's very good.
It's excellent. You can hear the atmosphere. He's having a good time.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that my route home goes quite close to Alabama, and I do see quite a mix of sounds getting off
The Flintstones.
Well, the thing is that I mean, that was fairly safe ground, but imagine how terrible it'd be if you think someone's in fancy dress and they're fancy dress, is it? No. It's going to be terrible, couldn't it? I said, off to the 5 nuns, off to the darts, lads. Oh, sorry, ladies, I need to apologise. You need like Ford Light Tales that we'll bring you very shortly. More songs for Katy Perry's singing toilet. Sorry if you've just joined us, I'll explain more later on. That's all to come. It's me here in the studio, Charlie down the line. The Metropolis is well, you don't want to say Flitshire, fantastic in the country, and we'll continue this afternoon's show very shortly. We've got Tom Macklin joining us later, Martin Kerr playing the day earlier, and lots more besides.
Hawksby and Jacobs on TalkSport with Green King Pubs. Search Green King Sports Pubs to find your local. Green King, your home of pub sport.
You're more than a small business. The Magic Group is more than an ad. It's also an operator.
Magic has a smart marketing platform with marketing ambitions, smart recommendations, and creative tools that all work together. For smaller stuff.
Mailchimp, built for growing
Businesses.
Hello, I'm Jo Brand. As a crisis supporter, I've learnt that Christmas is one of the hardest times to be homeless, and the last couple of years have been tough for everyone. This Christmas, you can give someone who's homeless the support they need. Crisis is providing food, advice, and a place to stay, plus helping people find somewhere to call home. Please donate £29.06 today. Search Crisis at Christmas. Help someone take their first steps out of homelessness. Thank you.
The Wi-Fi's down. This is broadband rage. It happens when your internet drops out and the waiting list descends. Why suffer like this? Get the UK's first unbreakable Wi-Fi. Only BT's new hybrid home broadband is backed up by EE's mobile network. One day all broadband will be like this.
4G coverage required. 4G connection takes up to 175 seconds. Verify bt.com/verify hybrid.
Are you staring at an empty fridge right now? Uber Eats. A dozen eggs and smoked Scottish salmon from Sainsbury's. Ripe and ready avocados. Extra special Madagascar dark chocolate from Asda. Frozen pepperoni pizza and frozen curly fries from Iceland. Order now. Uber Eats. Bring it.
Doesn't extend any more than that, does it?
Restrictions and availability. Separate orders are required from each store.
Combine multiple markets on the same match with the Ball Sports Bet Builder. Shot on target, assists, headed goals. Combine multiple selections into one single bet at one price. All you ever want to track your bet with the Ball Sports live match center for instant updates or cash out when you feel the time is right. Download the Ball Sports betting app today. Ball Sports. This is betting. 18 plus. Play responsibly. Remember the word on
Digital radio at 18. This is TalkSport, powered by
We're going to look back on the heady days of Christmas Day football a little bit later on. Don't tell Jurgen Klopp. We'll also be finding out what they plan to do in the States, which has obviously been COVID affected. They do still have plenty of live sport on Christmas Day. That's a great tradition with them. Mike Ward will look at the best of the festive telly, and also we will keep you in touch if there's any more cancellations, any more postponements in the Premier League and beyond. We're right across that. We'll be hearing from some of the managers affected a little bit later on. But first, at 2 o'clock, we bring you the news and sports headlines with Clara Bentley.
Good afternoon. Omicron could be less severe than Delta, and 2 Boxing Day Premier League games are called off.
TalkSport.
Studies into the Omicron variant of COVID-19 suggest the risk of staying overnight in hospital is reduced by at least 40% when compared to Delta. The Health Secretary Sajid Javid says this is good news, but we still need to keep case numbers low.
If a much smaller percentage of people are at the risk of hospitalisation, if that's a smaller percentage of a much larger number, there could be still significant hospitalisation.
Hundreds of people have gathered to remember a 12-year-old girl who was stabbed to death in Liverpool last month. Ava White was attacked in the city centre following a Christmas light session. Photos of the schoolgirl covered her coffin, which was taken to the Metropolitan Cathedral in a horse-drawn carriage. Around 10 million journeys are expected to happen on UK roads today and tomorrow as people drive home for Christmas. Gatwick Airport says says its terminals could be 7 times busier than this time last year. Travel editor for The Independent, Simon Calder, says delays on the railways is adding to the problem.
We've got planned cancellations on LADR, the East Coast Main Line. We've got ad hoc cancellations on the West Coast Main Line. If they're going to say, well, come on, this is ridiculous, I'm getting in the car, that's not going to be good for anybody, I'm afraid.
Talk Sport weather with QuickFit. Get up to 15% off Michelin Cross Climate tyres and claim your free Swiss Peak speaker. Book today at quickfit.com or your local centre and drive away happy every time. Conditions apply.
Cold and cloudy across Scotland, with rain turning heavier and more widespread later, with some hill snow in the north. Elsewhere, early rain in the west moves east across England and Wales. Brighter weather following in the west later.
Talk Sport Sports Update with Green King IPA. Enjoy some hometown pride with your Green King products. Proud to pitch in is helping to support local sports clubs. Search Green King Proud to pitch in.
The Boxing Day games at Liverpool and Wolves have been called off by the Premier League. Prospective opponents Leeds and Watford are unable to field teams owing to the numbers of their players who are injured, ill or with COVID-19. It comes ahead of a meeting between the Premier League and club managers and captains later this afternoon to discuss player welfare. There are growing calls for the 5 substitution rule to be reintroduced. That's something that City head coach Pep Guardiola is on board with.
Is it?
Just 3. Why? So now the teams with I want to protect the players. Well, we want to protect the players to buy 5 substitutions, but it's much better for everyone for this amount of games, year by year, the competition.
To the Championship, Millwall versus Swansea has become the latest in the EFL to be postponed because of new COVID cases. Preston's Boxing Day meeting with Sheffield United is also not going ahead. Celtic have made Michael Nicholson's interim appointment as chief executive a permanent one. The former director stepped up in early September following the sudden end of Dominic Mackay's brief tenure. And Andy Murray has been confirmed as a wildcard entry for next month's Australian Open, a 5-time runner-up. He was due to play in last year's event before COVID-19 had other ideas. It will be his first time at the tournament since 2019, when he emotionally revealed he could have played for the last time. There's more at TalkSport.com.
Yes, good afternoon, Paul Watchman Channel here on Talk Sport. Coming up in the second area of the show, we will be catching up with the Moose. He's been right across all the managerial press conferences today. And of course, one of the main talking points has been the virus and how it's affecting fixtures. You've just been hearing now from Cara. We've got a couple of games already called off in the Premier League, quite a lot in the EFL and the Championship as well. So keeping an eye on things there. We will catch up with the Moose later on. Dave Edwards